promised one of my viewers that I was going to buy something, and came in today. Got my underglow lights for the wagon. Well, underglow rock lights. They're like Bluetooth. You can sync with your phone, like the music and stuff. Party wagon is going to be lit AF fam. Yeah. What's up, guys, gals, and everybody in between? So, I wanted to make a quick video today about how to get ready and prep for a rallycross or autocross or whatever you may be going to go race at. As it is with most motorsports or trying anything new, getting over that initial hump is always the hardest part, and it's always trying to figure out, what do I need to do to get started? What exactly do I need to do to get started? So I wanted to clarify that. I've been doing autocross for nearly a decade now. I've been doing rallycross for 6 years, and my best advice is go watch an event. Go watch at least one event, and if you're feeling able or you're willing to, go volunteer to help out at an event, because if you go up there to volunteer, you'll make a lot of friends really quickly, because they can use all the help they can get. If it's just picking up cones, if it's going and working a corner, if it's just being a spotter for somebody, anything. The SCCA really appreciates that, especially for rallycross, because there's not as many support people. But autocross is the same way. If you go out and help pick up cones, even if you're not racing, you're automatically a friend of everybody, because that's awesome. It's great to go volunteer. As a matter of fact, the last couple of years I haven't been racing regularly. I still go to the events just to help out, especially with rallycross, help them set up and close up shop when they're all said and done. It makes it easier on them, and it makes it fun for me because I get to help out anyway. And I know the easier time they have setting up and putting stuff away, the more willing they'll be to have another event. So go out there and volunteer, go watch, go do whatever you gotta do. As far as competing in SCCA Rallycross or Autocross, it's not that hard to get into. Go to the website, find your local region. Most of the people I know are part of the ARSCCA region. So go find your local region, go spectate that, get to know the people, get to talking to them, and then if you want to compete, it's really easy to do. Go to ARSCCA. If you want to get a membership, get a membership. There's cuts down on some of the cost, and it'll actually give you a little bit of a discount. Go to SCCA.com, look up the rule books for whatever you're doing. Particularly Rallycross, the rule book's not that large, and it's pretty easy to follow. Out of the two events, Rallycross is probably the easiest one to get into and understand right away. The best thing to do is to pre-register. That way you can save a little bit of money, and it helps get everything set up easier. And that way when you go to the event, you're already set up in the computer and you're ready to go. That helps out everybody also. And if you go and do that, you'll look like you've been there before, and they'll really appreciate that. Do a little bit of research on your car. If you've driven it before, if you've never done autocross before or rallycross, there's a lot of people there that are also there for their first time, and they'll be glad to be right there with you learning, and there's always going to be veterans there that are really nice to help out. The communities around these things are usually very friendly people. Like, out of any other organization I've ever been in with cars, Rallycross and Autocross are very friendly events, so don't feel bad if you want to go up, talk to somebody, ask them a question, because they're willing to help you out. I help out a lot of people. I get contacted by people on Facebook and in real life, and they'll shoot me a text or call me and just ask me a few questions. We're always open to help out. We love seeing new people out there because it's great for our community, and it's great to get exposure out there, and it's good fun. It's a lot of fun, especially if you like cars. It's the most fun you're going to have in your daily driving car, I promise you that. And unlike drag racing or any of those other stuff, it's really not that hard on cars. I used to drag race when I first started driving, and I broke parts just about every weekend. I was also driving a Mitsubishi. That's a whole different story. Most cars, you can go out to any local rallycross and you can go out to a field, and the field's going to be pretty easy in your car. If you don't push it past its limits, if you drive slowly, slow is fast. And I keep that mantra because it's very true. If you try to push your car too hard, you're going to go out wide. That's a whole nother video on events. Once you get a few events under your belt, then you can start focusing on that stuff. With that being said, let's look at the car. I'll kind of go over some stuff that they're going to look at in tech. So when you show up to an autocross or a rallycross, they're going to do a little tech inspection before you get started. There's a few things they're going to look at right off the bat. And one of the first things they always go for is the battery. Make sure your terminals are covered, your battery's secure, and the tie downs are good. And this being a newer car is a bad example because, well, of course it's going to be all secure. But for the wagon is not secure. It's very not secure at all. It's rattling around loose, and it would easily fail tech inspection if I was to rallycross that. A few other things they're going to look at on the outside. They're going to make sure there's no leaking fluids. When you're running your car, they don't want to see anything active leaking, which they'll be pretty lenient on that. Just make sure it's not a giant active geyser pouring out of the bottom of your car. One other area they'll look at is the windshield. So per the new Rallycross spec, you can have cracks on the outside laminate of your window, but not full through the window. It kind of depends on your region and who's actually doing your tech inspect, but usually they'll pass you as long as your window's not cracked in half or it's separating from the trim. You should be just fine. One other thing that'll stop you from passing tech is make sure all your lug nuts are tight and you have them all there. If you've got a broken stud, you need to replace that because they will fail that on a tech inspect. They'll get inside the car and they'll press the brake pedal to make sure you have adequate brake pressure. They'll also get in there and they'll press your gas pedal to make sure it returns just fine and doesn't stick. Because that's one thing they don't want to happen is you have your throttle stick wide open. In newer cars, that's not really a problem with electronic drive-by-wire, but some of the older cable-drawn ones, again, like the wagon, there's a possibility for it to get stuck wide open. Another thing they're going to look for as far as tech inspect is any loose items. No lanyards, no sunglasses, no helmets. I've got my helmet back here in the back. Hey. My helmet and my shoes are in the back, and they wouldn't want anything loose at all. Same thing in the trunk, anything loose at all. They want to make sure all your windows can go all the way up. Sunroof closed. If you have a convertible, they want the factory hard top or a hard top in there. You can't run just a soft top. There's a lot of things in the rule book you'll have to go through and just find out for yourself what works, what doesn't work. But it's really not too stringent. Most rallycrosses will pass tech with most cars, unless it's just an extreme case. And what I've done to this car to make sure it's good for my rallycross, went ahead and put mud flaps on it all the way around just to protect the paint and protect a few other key components. They're not required in rallycross, but it is nice to have them. A few other things you're going to want to look for is basically anything for a basic tune-up. Make sure all your fluids are topped off. Make sure you have adequate pressure in the brake pedal, like I said earlier, for tech inspect. And just make sure everything's in order. Make sure your belts aren't old. Make sure your tires are in good shape. And if you have a spare set of tires, make sure they're actually holding air and they're good to go. As some of you saw on my channel this weekend, I went ahead and put a skid plate on my Fiesta. You can't really see it there. But it's not necessary to have on a rallycross car, but it is nice to have as a little cheap insurance for yourself, just in case. As far as tires are concerned, street tires will work just fine in rallycross. But of course, a cheap alternative to stage tires or gravel tires that really rallycross use are winter tires. And I actually have a good set here. These are Winter Force by Firestone, and they're a great tire. I've run these at rallycross many times on the Element and a few other cars that I've done rallycross with. And it's a good soft tire. I actually daily drove on my Element tires, on winter tires, for like a year and a half, and they really didn't show any wear to them still. So they'll work just fine. Of course they're a pretty soft compound, so you got to be careful, cornering hard with them, but for the most part, they're a good set of tires. And I'm actually going to mount these on the Fiesta for this weekend's rallycross. Not with these wheels, because these are off the wagon and they're a little bit different lug pattern. But I'm going to mount these onto a set of steel wheels that I got. And that brings me to another point. I would recommend running a really nice set of wheels out there, because rock chips and all that is very common to happen at rallycross. So there's tons of forums out there that'll tell you what kind of wheels to run and not to run steel wheels or not to run a certain type of wheel, but I don't recommend steel wheels. I'm in the same boat that most people are, but I needed a cheap alternative for this weekend, and so I'm going to run steel wheels. I ordered a set of Method racing wheels that are actually a rally compound wheel, and I think they're pressure cast wheel, and all kinds of rally cars use them on there, so I trust them, and I'm going to give them a good shot this time around. The only problem is they're on back order in most places, so I've got to find a good place to actually get them from, so we'll see where that goes. As far as that, there's not a whole lot extra you need to do. Just research your class your car is going to be in, make some friends out there, and go out there and have a blast. That's really all there is to it. Just a short video today, kind of going over what it takes to get into rallycross or autocross. The best thing is just to get out there and do it, because you're going to have a blast either way. It's the most fun you can have locally. I mean, if you don't have a track right nearby, it's cheap. It's the most expensive it's going to be is $50, but if you're a member, it's only $30. And if you pre-register, it's only $20. depending on your area, I suppose. But it's a great hobby. It's a great way to make friends, great way to make contacts. It's an absolute blast. And what else are you gonna do on a Saturday? You're gonna sit around, play more computer games, watch TV. I'll be out racing. So Sunday, first Rallycross, the Fiesta. I'm excited, and I'm taking you guys along with me just like always. So until then, peace, guys.